They charged me with resisting arrest.
Get that confidence in jail.
I object.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Allegedly Bravo, a podcast about all things reality crime, specifically focusing really on the housewives. I am Cash.
And I'm Lauren.
How are you?
I'm good. You know, I was thinking about our introduction today, and I was like, welcome to Allegedly Bravo, the podcast that is now about Erica Jane, even though all we talk about is how much we fucking can't stand Erica Jane.
It's really an Erica Jane Jen Shaw podcast, but
Yeah.
we do try to, sprinkle in some other reality crime. And
Take some breaks.
I'm really thinking that we need to start talking about the Gabby Petito of it all.
1,000%.
And all of the other cases, because isn't there another case that's like unsolved right now?
There's so many. And then just before
but like another one that's like major news. There was another one.
Well, just before we started this today, I saw that there was somebody missing who used to be or is a gospel singer, and she was in the hospital recovering from COVID, and then all of a sudden is gone from the hospital, and our kids are like, where the fuck did our mom go?
I mean, do we just abandon ship right now and start a cold case podcast?
I would love that. That is my love language. Yes, we do.
Well, maybe we'll have to do a special segment on it because you guys, it's hot and juicy, and it's
oh my God,
it's wild.
It's incredible. I can't believe that Brian Laundrie guy's just like hiding out in the wilderness somewhere, maybe allegedly. Who knows?
Allegedly. Well, and it really does sound like his parents did give him their camper, and he's out probably living in the alligator reserve. Who knows?
Man.
But before we get too off topic, we have a very special guest today. We have such a fun segment that's a little bit different than what we normally do.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do a lot of legal analysis. We're going to get more into like the fun medical side.
Yeah, exactly. We're employing our medical expert, who you all should be following right now. Go on your Instagram, open it up, follow at Classic Skytops.
I really
follow.
hate that name now.
Why?
Well, you can't change it for at least a week.
I know.
Okay, well, here, let's introduce her.
This is Leah, who runs the Classic Skytops Instagram account. Everyone go follow her. And we're doing a fun Girardi Health 101.
Hi,
So-
girls.
How are you?
Hello.
I have my vodka rosé and, soda that I like. Or rosé vodka soda.
Ooh,
I'm very tired.
Good
That
for
nurse
you.
life is exhausting, but I'm ready. I studied up. I have my notes. I am ready to mention it all.
Oh,
I even did my stretches.
Oh, good.
Well, we're both so excited to have you here because I think though, I was going to say Lauren and I both know absolutely really nothing about the medical field. I did take a medical malpractice class while I was in law school, and I have gone to my yearly physical, but I think Lauren, though, you were going to be a nurse at some point.
Oh
Is
my
that correct?
God. Fully, yes. When I started college as a pre-nursing student, and I literally could not pass a class if my life depended on it. And I'll never forget one day, my roommate, who is actually smart and good at being a nurse, came home from her hospital rotation, and I go, "How was it?" And she's like, "Oh, I got shit on." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I kid you not, the next day changed my major to psychiatry or whatever, or psychology. I'm sorry, psychiatry. I'm high and I'm drinking red wine.
Sounds like that psychiatry degree didn't happen either.
Either way, here I am still trying to pass the bar exam, but I did graduate law school.
And for those reasons, that is why we have Leah here today to really break down the Tom Girardi of it all, the questions we have surrounding the insane stories of
Oh
Mr.
my
Girardi.
God.
I
So
mean,
before we get into like all of the nitty gritty of it, can you give us a little bit of background? You did mention you were a nurse. How long have you been a
Yeah.
nurse?
I have been a nurse for going on 7 years, but I have been in the healthcare, mainly long-term care field for going on 20 years. I started in high school at the bottom of the totem pole as an activity aide. Then I worked up to a certified nurse's assistant, certified med aide. I mean, so I have long-term care is my bread and butter.
what's
And-
that?
Yeah.
All
Sorry.
nursing homes, assisted living.
Oh,
I love working with, I just love working with old people. I
God,
think
that's
it's one of those,
That's a
It's-
real specialty.
it's
Mhm.
it's demanding, but I think it's one of those things where you make more of an impact, you get to know them. It's more of just an overall comfort to them because you really get to know them and it's like they're not acting right.
Mhm.
Something's off with them. And it's also, they're so excited to see you and so happy to see you. It makes going to work fun and exciting. It's
Yeah.
hard when they pass, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
God, we're all such different people because that is just like a level of empathy I don't have.
It's hard. Especially with COVID this past year. It's challenging, but nursing it's a calling for sure.
Well, and we're
being
lucky
shit
to-
on does happen quite a bit.
I made the right decision by dropping that. But honestly, I've always said I'm not really religious, but if there's a heaven, all nurses get an immediately admission. You know what I mean?
Okay, I have a question. How many diapers do you think you've changed and butts do you think you've wiped?
Oh God. Easily
Like-
over 1,000.
Wow.
Easily.
Different butts or
Different butts.
wow.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
a lot. It's a lot. You see it all. You hear it all. I have had older couples that still very much like to put a sock on the door when they want to be left alone. Like it is an entirely different world, and I loved it.
Now I did hear though that the older folks home, the old folks home, if you will, is really a breeding ground for like chlamydia and stuff.
It is.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, just because I think it's that whole, we can't catch anything. And listen, some of those old men play on player.
They be double dipping. Oh my.
They just, because the number of women outnumber the number of men usually in nursing homes. So yeah, and
wow.
if they're of sound mind, if they're alert and oriented, we can't tell them, no, don't do that. That's a violation of their rights. We just encourage them to be safe.
Oh my God.
This is wild. Okay, so then so you've said that you've been in long-term care for almost 20 years now. So does the majority of your career now, like your daily day-to-day activities, take place in a old folks home?
Yep.
Okay, so you're not in like a hospital or anything?
No, I currently am a medical records nurse right now we have 115 patients in this nursing home, including an entirely locked down memory care unit.
Interesting. So you are familiar with people who have dementia?
Oh, very much so.
Mm.
Very much so.
Wow.
So that's why it's hard for me with Tom Girardi. It's like, God, I'm just not buying it.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Why?
Here's my thing.
No, go ahead.
There's normal age processing. Like when you get older, you're going to have God, who was I talking to, or what was I supposed to do today? Just, it happens.
Like,
your brain,
natural deterioration.
Yeah. But with him, he was still going to work. When
Right.
you have dementia, you have no desire to go to work. Like, you are not thinking, I'm going to get up every day and I'm going to go to work like Tom was.
That's
Even if that's your habit.
You just, everything kind of changes.
Wow.
And it doesn't happen overnight.
Oh,
Like,
I was going to ask you that. So does this just, there's like a climb up?
Yeah. Yeah. You start to notice some things, and cognitive issues can be caused by a lot of different things. It can be caused by medication interactions, or it could be caused by lack of sleep. It could be caused by pain. It could be caused by stress. Just a lot of different things can make you just feel groggy. Normal aging, you just don't find enjoyment out of things. Like, man, I'm getting tired of going to work. My body is tired.
Mhm.
Tom Girardi was still going to work in his 80s, and he was
Right.
still practicing law. Like,
Right.
Cash, I know how many hours you put in because Lauren tells me. I can't imagine how many hours Tom has put in running his own firm.
Yeah. And so, like, I mean, I definitely suffer from a little bit of a natural fatigue after work.
Yeah.
But what would you say? Because you said obviously there's normal symptoms of aging. What would
Mhm.
be like a cluster of symptoms that somebody would present that would lead you to believe that they were early onset dementia?
Like, Tom Girardi is still being very social, going out, being seen in public. When the quote unquote moving into the assisted living was happening, he was still out there dressed in his like Sunday brunch outfit.
Mm-hmm.
That does not look like dementia. He still seems very much aware of what's going on.
So you
Normal
think
age,
it's normal aging?
I think it's normal aging. And I also think he knows how to win over a jury. He knows. He knows what will get him sympathy. Look at this old man. But like normal aging, like my grandpa's 87. He's older than Tom Girardi. He's still very much with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you get to be in your 80s and you give up on life. My grandpa learned how to play the violin 5 years ago to deal with the grief of losing my grandma. He still goes into the office for half a day. Granted, he takes then half the morning off to go to the coffee shop and get the gossip with the other old men.
Yeah.
He's on Facebook. He puts out this weekly family journal to all of us.
Oh my God, that's adorable.
He's so cute. But he's still very much active, but you notice like he takes a little bit longer to maybe respond to what you say because he's trying to get caught up to the conversation.
So that's normal in terms of aging, but then somebody who is suffering from dementia would not be engaged in normal activities and daily activities, like going to the coffee shop or getting up, like you said, going to work for a half a day or picking up a new habit.
Yeah, no, they become very withdrawn. They lose interest.
I'm so sorry to interrupt.
You're okay.
So we just saw a video that came out on Instagram a day ago or so of Tom leaving that long lunch with a couple of friends, the Good Old Boys Club. And he, I watched that video. I must have watched it 15, 30, 100 times.
Oh, I was obsessed. When you texted me at work, I immediately closed my office door and just watched it again.
I can't for the life of me figure out is he just being an old man or is he having a weird memory recall issue? Because when Tom answers the question of the reporter being like, oh, did she know? Did she know? And Tom takes a beat and then says, yeah, I think she knows.
I think that reporter was playing dirty, first and foremost, because they initially started with, how are you doing? And, he gives that thumbs up, which I will say the thumbs up it hit me in the heart,
I know. My
because my
grandpa
other
did
grandpa
that.
used to do that all the time when he was telling a story. So it softened me up a little bit. And then they asked about his assisted living, how it was going,
Mhm.
and his response. But then they immediately go, do you think Erica knew what was going on? I could see him just being an old man, thinking, oh, about the assisted living? Yeah, I think she
Oh, I
does.
see. Yeah. Okay.
He
Like
did not clarify.
catching up.
Interesting.
See, that's what stood out to me. That
Mm.
reporter didn't go, did Erica have any idea about these alleged crimes that you're being accused of?
Mhm.
Instead, we asked you about your assisted living, and do you think Erica knows? I mean, normal conversations with just non-dementia, demented, as they like to say, but I don't like to say that, just
I
sounds
know.
so
I
bad.
feel it sounds like a scary movie.
Yeah. But even people that don't have dementia, Alzheimer's, cognitive issues whatsoever, if you are asking about one subject, but then you go to another subject, it's not uncommon for them to get confused.
Hmm.
Right.
I didn't even think about that.
Me neither.
Yeah, it was very like, huh. And so when his brother came in and stopped it, I think that was the right thing, just in the fact of it felt like a trap.
Mhm. Well, of
And
course. I mean, any
yeah,
sleuth paparazzi that's sitting outside an old folks' home waiting for Tom Girardi. I mean, are we
they're good.
grateful for the footage? Absolutely. But was it done with the
Absolutely.
best of intent? No.
But
No.
we
And
appreciate it, and God bless you.
Yeah, God, like
But-
I texted Lauren, that man deserves an Oscar for his investigative journalism.
Exactly.
now, does Tom Girardi deserve to get sympathy? No, absolutely not.
Exactly. And that's the weird dichotomy here of like feeling bad for this like seemingly sweet old man. Like when we've
Yeah.
seen him this whole time, we've been like, oh, he loves Erica. He's this, he's that. Like we've just seen this like precious man who's just like
Mhm.
glowing and smart and with it and chubby in the cheeks. And then but then all of a sudden we see him like sunken in and like his eyeball looks kind of weird on the left eye. And like,
Yeah.
and I think, yeah, if you look at pictures of like for example, grandfather 2 years ago, 3 years ago, same thing. He looks, healthy and has collagen in his cheeks and all that stuff. And then like, if you look at him a week or two ago, like not so much,
Yeah. Which I think one of the best things that I was taught in nursing school, and I mean, Lauren knows about this. Cash, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I had to do clinicals out of prison. And, if you get convicted of something, you're in there. You don't get let out because you've now become this sweet old man. And they've really told us, like, I was sitting there and I was looking at these old men hobbling around with canes. I'm like, oh my God, those poor old men. And the cops there were like, they're not poor old men. He raped this many women. He killed someone. He did this. So it's like, we immediately see an old man and we go, "Aw," forgetting they just because they're old and sweet looking doesn't mean they're innocent.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you automatically garner sympathy. It's just like a child that commits a crime. Like you see a kid walking around, you're like, look how sweet he is. And it's like, oh wait, he murdered 15 people. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
not funny.
Okay, wait. I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
we've talked about dementia and we've talked about you being in assisted living facilities. Can you talk about, like, have you been around somebody that has early onset dementia?
Yes.
Okay, what are some examples of how they interact in society or in the assisted living facility? Like, what are things that you see in the way that they respond to people, interact?
They get a little bit more quiet, almost like they're not comfortable. They're not sure if they should be be around people. One of the big things is when we notice that they start acting a little bit funny, our first thought is, well, let's get a urine sample to make sure it's not a UTI, because UTIs in older people especially can cause sudden confusion.
Wow.
And then yeah, that's one of the big things. If someone's suddenly not acting right and they're of a certain age, it's like, well, let's check for a UTI.
So it would
Because
be obvious. It would be
it
that
would be
obvious.
If it's not a UTI, but they're still acting odd, it's like, okay, well, then you look at medications. Did they start a new medication? Are they having an adverse reaction to it? You look at these different things. It's like, okay, why are they not eating as much? Why are they still in the same clothes as they were? Why did they come out without their hair combed? There's just little things that,
Mhm.
okay,
So Erica
well,
would have picked up on those things, allegedly.
Yeah.
If they were living
You-
together, she would have noticed.
you would absolutely think. Unfortunately, I have a family member who is in the onsets, and there were signs that were seen by various family members, because she was usually on top of it, knew everyone's
Mhm.
names, and not just, I mean, I have a big old Irish family. So this family member came from 8 siblings. She was one of 8 siblings. She knew all the siblings' spouses, all their kids, all of their grandkids. Like, she knew there's 100 and some of us, and she knew all of us.
Wow.
Suddenly she's asking questions that she normally wouldn't ask. It's like, well, you should know this. So there are signs. There are obviously signs something's off.
So for somebody of Tom's intellect, who had the success that he had in his career, balancing multiple businesses, who
Mhm.
we've seen on camera holding holding a conversation with multiple housewives, recalling a story from, how old was he, Lauren?
7.
Like back with John Wayne or whatever on set?
Like 15, 16. He was like,
Wow.
college, right? Wasn't he at Loyola or something?
So wasn't that less than a year after, or like a little bit over a year after that story, he's being conserved? Like, what
Right.
are the chances of somebody developing symptoms, early onset dementia, and declining that rapidly? Is that common?
It takes, if you think that there's something going on, they're going to run CT scans, like all the tests. They're going to do assessments. They're going to have speech therapy involved, because speech therapy can also help with cognition. It's a huge, I mean, it's used all the time in nursing. So I think one of the big things is, if you think that someone you love is having dementia, you're going to run all the tests, and those
Mhm.
tests can take, depending on the time frame, it's going to take anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks to get all the results.
My question is, when they run these tests,
Mhm.
what are they doing? Are they looking inside the brain? Are they having
Mhm.
them perform things? Like, what does a test for dementia look like?
Well, I know for nursing homes and assisted living, when we get a new admit, and then every year we do mini mental assessments. And with mini mental assessments, we go through these lists of questions. And one of the big things we do is we tell them 4 words.
Mm-hmm.
And then we say, okay, remember those words. We're going to get back to it. And then we ask them other questions. And then we go back and ask them, what were those 4 words I told you to remember? And then we base the score on how many they can recall. And that kind of gives us a good idea of, okay, there's some memory loss, but it's not severe. In a hospital, a CT scan is going to show any deterioration of the brain.
Mm.
And it can also show if they've had a stroke, because when you have a stroke, it can cause issues with the brain as well, and you'll be able to see it. They'll do a lot of monitoring. They'll probably have them go to lots of different doctors, perform all these tests just to see, can they still do their ADLs, which are activities of daily living? Can they still put their shoes on okay? Can they still shave? Can they still follow simple commands? Can they wash their face? Can they comb their hair? And because dementia is not really a specific diagnosis. Like Alzheimer's is a specific diagnosis, but Alzheimer's can cause dementia, which dementia is basically just the general term for a cognitive decline. You can have dementia with behavioral disturbance. You can have dementia without, behaviors. There could be other psychoses going on with the diagnoses.
So with Erica and Tom, Erica is alleging, apparently now all of a sudden it's not a fact, but that he has the one with impairment, physical impairment.
Okay.
Right? Because he can't drive to work and like he couldn't do his daily tasks. Like, would balancing the account book be one of those things that you're talking about?
Yeah, you would not know how to do, you wouldn't know how to do finances like that. Like one of the examples that they'll give, if you Google difference between normal aging process and dementia, and I jotted this down specifically because with the finances, it stood out to me. I have my notes upon notes, because I also saw the questions that people submitted. You might, like in normal aging, like you might forget to pay a bill. Like, oh shoot, I forgot to do that.
Don't we all?
When you,
Yeah.
yeah. But when you have dementia, you have frequently shitty judgment with money. Like you don't, you should not be handling money.
But then that argument goes in favor of Tom Girardi potentially. If he was having this early onset dementia, and like you said, like if there was an ability for him to somewhat function, he was constantly surrounded by people at his law firm. He was at home. He was out in social gatherings. So like there were so many people around him that could notice a decline. But it's like, it would have had to have taken somebody to step up and acknowledge it, and it would have taken Erica or Tom himself to go to the doctor.
But Erica said that she took him didn't she just say when in the Del Mar episode that she told the doctors like, hey, something's wrong, and everyone ignored her? Is that normal?
Well, in fairness, don't judge me. I have not watched Wednesday's episode yet.
Well, you're busy saving lives, so
I guess
I was at
no
work
judgment.
Like 12:30 in the morning, so
my
ass is tired.
I'm talking about is like this time last year or 2 years ago, where his cognition and cognitive function may have been declining slowly. And he may not have personally recognized it or seen it as being an issue where he had to go to the doctor. People around him, there's a possibility that they saw this decline. What I'm saying is that it would have had to have taken Erica or Tom himself to go to the doctor, because it's like, yeah, he could be declining, but people may have attributed to him having old age. And it's like, he could have easily been suffering from early stages of dementia or memory loss.
I think the bad thing in this situation is, unfortunately, it's very, very common when people are starting to get dementia, they might be in denial. Yeah. They might be scared. They're afraid to go get help, because then they think, you automatically go to the worst. There's lots of people that have some dementia that they're not stuck in a nursing home in a memory care getting neglected. There's just that stigma with it, which is not fair. Now, I would imagine that if Tom was going to his yearly physical, the doctor would just do normal questions just to see. I also think it's awful of Erica if she was noticing this change in her husband, who she loves so much. She did not call the doctor herself and say, I'm really concerned about this, because as the spouse, that was within her rights to call the doctor expressing a concern.
That's a question for Vince. Oh, go ahead, Cash.
What I was going to say is going back to when we were talking about mental decline and like the difficulties with numbers, and we have to, even though we came to, I feel like Tom's defense slightly by saying that there is a possibility like that argument could go towards and be in favor of Tom, that he was suffering this dementia. He wasn't capable of dealing with finances, but we have to remember this financial fraud that was taking place for how many years prior?
Yes, exactly.
How many years was it going on?
Yeah,
exactly.
Years.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yes.
say that's his argument. Say he's saying, okay, I've had dementia actually for 5 years. So say, what would a person, so say his first financial kerfuffle happened 5 years ago, where he started having issues balancing his finances. Where would somebody be at if they were in early stages of dementia 5 years ago? Where would they be at now mentally? Like, would they be able to get out of bed? Would they be able to answer questions?
It depends. I mean, dementia is treatable. It's not curable, but there's lots of medications that can help slow down the progress of it.
Let's, just for sake of argument, let's say he's not on any medication. And he hasn't had any assistance from the doctor.
I would be shocked if he was still able. Well, I don't want to say that. It just kind of depends on what part of the brain the dementia is affecting. Because it doesn't just affect one big.
How about this? This might help.
So
you don't have to give like a conclusory statement about somebody that you haven't had an opportunity to see. Hypothetically, if there was an individual who was suffering or dealing with finances and they were starting to misstate numbers, confuse bank accounts 5 years ago, where would they be at, generally speaking, where would they be at mentally and physically now? Would they be able to get up out of bed on their own and remember to eat breakfast? Like, would they be able to get up and shower? Would they be able to go drive their car to the grocery store?
Absolutely would not be driving. Absolutely would not.
And
I could not see someone 5 years with a dementia diagnosis left untreated, driving and not constantly getting lost. And especially I've been to California once and it was in San Diego. I don't know what Pasadena's like, but I figured if you have dementia and you're driving in all that traffic, you would be causing an accident. You would be, hitting curbs or mailboxes, God forbid, like you would be sensory overload.
And so what would be the likelihood that you would have an ability to recall a specific memory from 60 years ago about, you being in a John Wayne film? Like, are those like
long-term memories? You can, because I have a lot of my memory care patients who will tell me, about their children.
Okay.
But they'll think I have to go and get my daughter from school, but they'll be able to name the school she goes to, but then they just don't remember like earlier in the day. Their full-grown child could have come to see them, but then
that's like 45 and has kids of their own and is not in school.
Okay, that's
4 hours later
interesting.
Could say, oh, it's almost time for my daughter to get out of school. They can remember stuff from years ago.
For example, my great grandpa lived to be almost 101.
Wow.
And when he was 99, like I used to spend towards his later life, we lived next to each other when I was in college, and he would recall the name of our dentist in San Diego. And he would recall that like my grandpa played professional baseball, like the team he played for, the position he played. And he would think when we were watching TV that my grandpa was on TV playing baseball, but then he would forget the street he lived on.
Yeah.
Like
that's
the address of his house. And so that makes sense though, that he would recall the craziest memories from years and years and years ago, but couldn't remember the simplest of things. So
yeah. And it also just kind of depends on where it's affecting the brain. Is it affecting your short term, your long term? Because there's all these different parts of the brain that hold different information. So, but long term memory is usually pretty spot on. with
And-
them.
And so dementia, do you just get it? Or
It can be caused by
like driving
mean-
off a cliff and then being unconscious for 12 hours?
Oh my God. Can we get into the hypotheticals we have?
Yeah.
Let's get into the hypotheticals.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Lauren. You
Okay.
start.
So I'm going to start with this hypothetical.
Okay.
A 78-year-old male who's pretty with it drives off a cliff of unknown height, unconscious for 12 hours outside alone overnight with a broken ankle that potentially needs surgery. Generally, how would this 78-year-old male who's been unconscious for 12 hours overnight present when approaching a hospital?
I just
Feels like a law school question.
I know. Can you tell I'm still traumatized from
Like-
the bar?
like a nursing school question where they go, which one is the most correct? And they're both like the same. Oh
Yeah.
God.
God.
Every multiple
Okay. So what's weather like in Pasadena at night? Does it get cold?
Probably like low, like maybe mid 40s, probably at the coldest.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
not
But I
going
would
to
say-
snow.
No, but I would say probably low 50s.
And when did the accident happen? What month? Do we remember? It was summer.
I thought it was in
Or-
January.
Was
Well,
it
this is
January?
accident number 1.
You know what? I think
This
it would
is
be
not
the
robbery.
fall because based on when they filmed the show, they film in the fall.
I would
I think
consider the weather to be sweater weather. Maybe
Yeah.
a heel
Oh.
boot. Yeah.
Nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy.
Okay. But an old man, he was 78, your skin's starting to get thin.
Mhm.
Um,
You're creepy as fuck.
so you are chilled more easily.
Yeah.
If I just have a hard time believing this man got lost on his road, opened his door of the car, Jack and Jill down the fucking hill, laid there for
I
12.
know. Hours.
And this is what bothers me. There's no hospital record that he went.
We know that for
police-
certain.
Well, I'm sorry, there's no police record allegedly of this accident.
Well, TBD on that one.
But I mean, and yeah, hospital records, those are private. We shouldn't know that. But
Right. But as of now, we have no indication that this incident
Okay, well,
happened.
then
There's no
it's
paper
just
trail.
so
Okay, how about this though?
crazy to
Say there's no paper trail. What would you
Okay.
actually, let's ask Lauren this because you're a
Okay.
nurse, so you would follow medical protocol.
Okay. As a
If-
failed nurse.
As
I
a
would.
failed nurse and as somebody waiting for their bar results,
Yes.
if your boyfriend had been missing for 12 hours and you happen to wander down the driveway and find them unconscious at the base of the hill, how would you respond?
I mean, first of all, I would scream bloody fucking murder. I would be on the phone with 911 immediately,
Mhm.
freaking the fuck out, alerting anyone within screaming radius what's going on. And I would
calling
be
your
like,
friends panicked.
I would be like, we are going to the number one hospital in the number one place in the world, and you're getting fixed, whatever the fuck's wrong with you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If I can understand there not being a police record that exists, there may be a fire record, there may be an
There's
ambulance
no
record,
way she could pick him up.
but there's no way she did not call 911. I mean, for fuck's sake, people call 911 when a cat gets stuck in a tree, or like their dog's head.
911 when their McNuggets order at McDonald's is wrong.
1,000%.
And so it's so difficult for me, for somebody who is so rational and so holds herself out to be so smart, would not do the first thing that comes to somebody's head. And the number one response and using common sense would be to call 911. And it makes
Yes.
no sense to me that. So
I would call 911 if my boyfriend was sleeping too hard and not immediately responding to me being like, hello,
okay, and especially
the big what caused him to be knocked out for 12 hours? Like, did he
don't know.
I guess
Did he
rolling
hit
down the
his
hill.
head? Like, did he get out of the car, realize he was lost, bumped his head, and that's what caused him to fall? And
But again, how does she know he was unconscious for 12
for
hours?
12 hours.
Because
Exactly.
He
remember,
told her that?
well, she said at Del Mar, which I'm sorry, Leah, that you're not privy to this, but in Del Mar,
It's okay.
she said that allegedly that is what Tom allegedly had said. And
That
when
makes no
Dorit,
sense.
when Dorit was like, "What the fuck? You're the one who told us all this. Like, didn't
No.
Tom tell you?" She's like, allegedly.
Kyle's face when she said that, Kyle's like, wait, what? It's your story. Like,
I know. That's
I
the
would
moment
just-
everyone.
that's crazy.
Like,
Okay. So Leah,
Prevention wise, though,
go ahead.
it's if you fall down a hill, old people fall and break a hip far less than Jack and Jilling down a hill.
Exactly.
So how does he not have a broken hip? And you not knowing
you mean they
standard
break it
protocol,
far? They would break their hip far more.
like my
you would have
grandma
more than a
broke her
broken-
hip like
Yeah.
in the shower when she was young, slipping.
I had a resident fall and bump into the elevator door, and she broke her upper arm and shoulder. Like, and it wasn't a fall down a hill.
you got some powder
But-
sugar bones when you reach a certain age.
Oh my God.
I mean,
my
knowing his-
aunt who was healthy was on a motorcycle, and the motorcycle was stopped and it tipped over and fell over and she broke her hip.
Yeah. So for this 78-year-old man who we don't know if he had osteoporosis, we don't know if he has bad vascular issues.
He had glaucoma.
Oh boy. I've known many of people that have broken a bone with glaucoma. But I think one of the big things is if anyone falls in a nursing home, assisted living, whatever, there is a fall protocol. The nurses and the aides are supposed to figure out what caused the fall, and we're supposed to write up a report that looks like a police report. That way,
Mhm.
if anyone reads it, they can picture exactly how was the person found? Where was the head? Where were the legs? Were they on their back, their side? Was there any blood? Was there any, it's this
Mhm.
whole thing. But if they fall and it is unwitnessed, immediately we do we put them on 72-hour checks. Neuro checks, there's a protocol. You get a full set of vital signs. You ask them questions to make sure that they're alert, they can answer properly. We check their pupils, we check their graphs, their hand graphs, we do everything.
Mhm.
We do that 4 times. We do it every 15 minutes for an hour, then every half hour for an hour, then every hour for 4 hours, I believe. And then, I mean, there's this whole process.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is a big deal.
Okay. So then say you have a patient that has, for some reason, been unconscious for 12 hours, unbeknownst to you. What would hypothetically, how would the 78-year-old man who had been unconscious for 78 hours, how would a 78-year-old man who's been unconscious for 12 hours generally present themselves? Like, what would be their symptoms? What would they look like? Like, would they have an elevated heart rate? Would they have
Could they even
vitals? I feel like blood pressure would be elevated because it would be a traumatic event to the body.
Mhm.
I would for sure think they'd be dehydrated. They would be confused.
Oh, I didn't
Because-
think of that.
You're laying out there for 12
Yeah, you're gonna
hours.
get thirsty, hungry,
You
probably
you are
peckish.
going, and then you're going to check immediately. You are immediately going to check for head trauma. Is there internal bleeding anywhere?
Mhm.
You were found at the bottom of the hill, or you fell down a hill. You're going to check for internal injuries. You're going to check for a brain hemorrhage. You're going to check for so many things.
So it would have been negligent for Erica Jane not to have taken
mhm.
Girardi to the hospital.
If she, I mean,
Hypothetically,
as allegedly, but if, like Lauren said, if she found her boyfriend like that, and that's how she would react, if I mean, I'm not married, but if I found anyone I loved in a situation where they are on the ground and they, they've been laying, like they've been missing all day, and you find them on this ground at the bottom of the hill.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
no.
So,
And
go ahead.
like you don't sit there in that state of, oh my God, what's wrong with him? Like, you
So-
would want every test ran.
Done. Yeah.
Well, okay, so that gets me to the next point. First of all, the information that we're missing from this hypothetical is how these two individuals, one being Tom and Erica, got from the bottom of the hill to a hospital.
Right.
Exactly.
Because we know he ended up at the hospital because we've gotten this outlandish story that allegedly he had suffered a TBI of some sort, correct?
Traumatic brain injury. Okay.
But then had a broken ankle, and there was discussions or advisement on behalf of Erica saying don't do anything with his head because he was out for 12 hours.
Yeah. Let's
Like,
talk
what's
about
the-
that.
that
Let's
is a
talk about
question-
the head injury.
Yeah, let's talk about the head injury because we got so many questions from people, our followers, asking like, how common is that for a layperson or a spouse of some sort to be able to override a doctor's
Order
order or procedure, especially in an emergency
If-
situation?
with a
If
head.
Erica is the power of attorney for healthcare, if she is a proxy, what she says goes. If Tom was incapacitated, if he was not able to state what he wanted,
Interesting.
either
Okay.
it being he was unconscious, he was
In a medical coma.
in a medically induced coma, if he was not of sound mind based on confusion, concussion, UTI, whatever.
Mhm.
If Erica was the legal power of attorney, she makes the decisions and we have to accept that.
So there
But-
is a possibility.
There is a possibility, but if the doctor is saying, I really feel like we need to do this, and the family, the power of attorney is saying no, or the the patient is saying no, more than likely the hospital had them sign something called a managed risk agreement or whatever they call it, basically stating this is what could happen with you not listening to us, not
Mhm.
taking our advice. And by signing this, you are stating that you are fully aware of the consequences, but you refuse treatment
Mhm.
because that protects the hospital from coming back and getting sued.
Mm.
Because
Yeah,
it's
so
stating
like a
right
waiver.
there, we
Yeah, like a
offered
waiver.
this to you and you said no. You know the risk, like a risk versus benefits type thing.
So does a TBI, traumatic brain injury, affect anesthesia, or like why would that be the main issue?
No, there's lots of people that have had traumatic brain injuries and they still go under.
Because I was
There's
gonna
different
say
types.
like massive car accidents, or like
Yeah,
I had a friend who whacked his head real hard skateboarding and had to have brain
Mhm,
surgery. And
mhm.
like that's obviously an injury, but he had to
If-
go under anesthesia.
if a doctor is saying we have to get in there and operate, and if it's a life and death thing, then yeah, they're probably going to do it.
Right.
Like if it's a
But this
thing
was
of-
pins in the ankle, right?
yeah,
Allegedly.
like there's different types of anesthesia you can use. Now, does anesthesia affect elderly people differently? Yes, it does. It takes longer to get out of their system. They can
Die.
like something that would
Kidding.
take.
I'm kidding. I'm
mean,
kidding. I'm
there's-
kidding.
Anyone,
There's
anyone
always
could
a
die. It,
There's
no,
always a risk.
it's true.
R.I.P. Joan Rivers.
Oh,
But like, oh,
now I'm
I know.
sad. Oh, Donda
But-
forever.
Donda. But God, that Joan Rivers thing happened when I was in nursing school, and it made me so sad.
I'll never forget it.
R.I.P. Anyways, God, could you imagine what she would say about Erica's fashion?
Oh my God. The
Ugh.
ponytail with the shower cap thing, the shower ring.
Her reunion dress.
Oh my God.
God. Dorit's fashion.
Oh.
Anyways, there's different anesthesia techniques you can use for a traumatic brain injury. If a doctor is telling,
that would allow for him to go under.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, old people with anesthesia, they might have more delirium, confusion, just feel puny longer than a like 20, 30, 40-year-old would.
Mm.
But you have these chemicals in your body. Every time I've been under anesthesia, it takes me about 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So,
Really?
and depending on your body mass index, it could just hang around longer. So,
And he was kind of chubby. I mean, as a chubby myself.
he was short and stout.
Little teapot.
I don't.
So I think the
Go
the takeaway is from this wild hypothetical is that it's very Erica or the wife in this hypothetical could have potentially declined medical treatment for
Yes.
her husband if she was the power of attorney.
If she
Very,
was, yes.
very unlikely if it was a life or death situation where she was being advised by multiple doctors that
Yeah.
some type of surgery had to be performed. However,
Now,
if she did say, I no, absolutely not, and Tom was agreeing at that point, they could have signed a waiver of some
there
sort.
would have
So,
had to have been something.
so there has to be, I know we'll never get our little grimy hands on it, but there has to be a medical record out there that somebody has seen if it does exist.
I would be, if I was at hospital, you know who Erica Jane is. You know who Tom Girardi is in California. If you see the most high profile attorney in the state of California in your hospital, you're going to bet your ass it's going to be a CYA thing, a cover
Mhm.
your ass.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
And
If
the
they were-
other I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. I'm just taking a sip of my drink
It's my MO. All I do is interrupt all day
and not answer your phone or
and not
listen
answer
to your
my
voicemails.
phone. No, ever.
Okay,
So if
so
I jack
go
a wheel
ahead.
down a hill, I will not call Lauren to come and get
Don't
me.
call me. I won't
I'll be
answer.
there for 5
she'll
days.
she'll get high and she won't answer.
Yeah. Be like,
Okay,
God, that sucks.
So now moving on, we briefly talked about his glaucoma, which is just another, nail in his coffin.
Oh,
God.
dark.
God.
But I will say, as Leah said, I know many of persons who have suffered from glaucoma who are
Mhm.
highly functioning
Mhm.
individuals. And
Yeah.
My dog had it, still has it.
yeah, definitely.
I mean, isn't that why they make medical marijuana?
Exactly. That's the number
Yes.
one reason. Everyone's got migraines and glaucoma down in
So I don't know
LA.
if
And
Lauren already
anxiety.
asked, I don't know if
Exactly.
Lauren already asked this, but could glaucoma eventually impact your cognitive function or mental, or is it
Mm.
purely based in the eyes?
Okay, I actually looked this up because glaucoma, it does cause blurry vision.
Mhm.
And there are eye drops for it. And ultimately, you can have, you could lose your vision. But when they were talking about it being cognition, it's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Okay,
But
so it like
I did
generally
look.
they don't go hand in
Well,
hand.
I looked and it said there is a type of glaucoma called normal tension that is linked to have an increased risk for cognitive issue and dementia.
Interesting.
But this study didn't come out till the beginning of the year.
Was Tom the main subject?
Literally, Tom's like, "Here, want some money?"
Like,
Oh my God, he's like your test subject.
like
That's
I think
fucking
people have
hilarious.
I think people have always thought, but it's never been founded. But
Oh,
if he was having glaucoma, again, why was he driving? Because it makes your vision, your
Vision.
your vision.
you get blizzard.
I'm not high. I might have poured my Might have been a heavy pour with my rosé vodka.
That is the craziest. If there is one takeaway from this entire episode, it's that is the most insane drink I've ever heard. That's almost as bad as Sonia drinking rosé with soda.
Oh no, a rosé flavored vodka. Kettle or Three Olives has it, and then you just put a little club soda in it, and it's delicious and low in
I
calories.
thought you were drinking vodka and rosé.
Girl, no.
Oh,
No.
imagine.
No.
Well, I am drinking straight red wine.
I
Oh
mean,
my God. I thought you were drinking rosé and vodka with soda water.
no. Good Lord. Listen,
my
I'm not
God.
much of a drinker anymore, but I don't even think in my drinking days I could handle that.
I mean, that's crazy.
I mean, I learned my lesson in high school when I drank too much Everclear, and I was in flip-flops and I had my feet by the fire pit, and I woke up to my flip-flops melting onto my feet.
Oh,
I was gonna say,
they
did you catch on fire for the amount of alcohol that you have in your system?
No, but I lost my flip-flops.
oh my
Like
God.
I was passed out, not for 12 hours. But
Yeah, not for 12 hours.
Well,
no,
that's
I
insane.
gotta still kind of move tomorrow, so I gotta be functioning.
Exactly.
It's my Friday and I'm getting tipsy tonight.
Oh, I still haven't even packed.
Oh, well, Lauren,
fine.
do you have any other questions about our dementia conservatorship, crazy driving?
I do have a thing about the
glaucoma.
ankle.
Go. Let's talk about the ankle.
The ankle. If a doctor is saying we need to put pins in the ankle, like did Erica say no, don't do ankle surgery, or did
Correct.
she
allegedly, according to Erica on Wednesday's episode, which you unfortunately were unable to watch due to the fact that you're saving lives. Erica said no ankle pins because
Of the anesthesia.
TBI and anesthesia.
Okay, I'm going to be very honest. She's fucking lying. If a doctor is saying we need to do pins, that means it is a fucked up break. He would not be walking. And
so then that was another question we had. So because during the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, that season when he got in the car accident and broke his ankle, there's a clip, right, of them in the kitchen and he's recovering, he's working from home. What's the recovery process like for somebody that has pins in their ankles? Is it a couple of weeks? Is it months? Is it a year? Is it rehab?
If someone had broke their ankle and they needed pins put in, you would be getting home health PTOT at the very least.
What's
Very
PTOT?
least.
What is that?
Physical therapy and occupational therapy.
Oh, so you'd have
Now-
like a person there to
You would be getting therapy services. You'd be walking with an assisted device. And I say this from two personal things. My grandmother was in a car accident and she broke her ankle. We had a surgery to reset it. Then they told her you have to go into a rehab facility for physical therapy because you have to, like, with the flexion and everything, you basically have to make sure you're doing the exercises to make it strong.
Yeah.
You're not putting any weight on it.
Right.
So now my father, he was also in a car accident and he was in a head-on collision and his right foot completely went to the side. So he had to have lots of pins and rods put in his foot. And unfortunately, a workman's comp thing, it would get infected. They would take him out. They would put him back in. He had like 5 more surgeries than he needed to because of his foot. You do not put pins and rods in the body unless there is no chance of healing otherwise, because that means the bone is so broken. They have to somehow get it back together.
So you wouldn't be able to let it naturally heal and then have a normal gait after that.
No. So when when your followers were submitting questions and one of them was like, what happens if you don't put
The pins.
the pins in? Simple answer is you're not going to be walking around like he was around the house 2 weeks later. There's no way.
And so even like in those scenes where they have that party at the house and Lisa Rinna and Erica are wearing the same dress, remember that? Where he's like chatting and having a good time with them, walking around. Like he would not have had a normal gait had he not had those pins in his ankle.
No, because you have to think the bone either punctured the skin, like it broke so good it popped out of the skin, or it shattered in a bunch of different pieces.
Whoa.
That is why you put pins and rods in to try to rebuild it.
That literally makes me sick.
So
glad you're not a nurse.
When she said that, I was like, that makes no sense. So if a doctor is saying we have to put pins and rods in for it to heal, how is he walking now? How is he walking then?
Without a cane or a walker or anything.
So
or a scooter, like
something smells stinky.
Sutton sprained her freaking ankle.
And
that's what I'm saying.
Wheelchair.
Something smells a little off. Something smells stinky and fishy.
Look at the season of the OC where Tamara broke her foot jumping into a hot tub naked, and then like 3 episodes later, Shannon. So they were both in those boots on those.
Yes, knee scooters.
We may not have seen it on the show, right? Because Tom wasn't on camera all the time.
Right.
But I would love to know who at that office is willing to come forward and let us know if he was on crutches in a wheelchair and if he was off of work as a result of this injury.
Yeah.
Because
it's just so
they're the ones that can corroborate it.
She said something about the clavicle. It's like,
right. Yes. Didn't that break?
If a clavicle or shoulder breaks, even if you don't do surgery, you would at least have it in a sling.
Right. You can't even move it.
To stabilize it. You wouldn't be
liars. This is why it's so crazy. Like having you verify this is just making me more aware of how insane the story is.
And you have to think about his age.
Right.
It wouldn't be shocking a man of that age to have osteoporosis, to have brittle bone, to have all these like things. Because you see a freaking 15-year-old break an ankle and he's on crutches for a month.
Oh, exactly. And they have pain forever for the rest of their life.
And honestly, when somebody at that age breaks a hip or a bone, they generally die.
I mean, you decline. You decline quick.
Or they at least get a handicap parking spot.
Yeah. Or end up in a facility.
Like, now, Tom Girardi has plenty of money. I mean, allegedly stolen money.
Plenty of other people's money.
I have a comment about that later.
Allegedly. Yeah. But you would think he would have home health. If he didn't want this getting out, he would have a doctor come to his home. He would have home health. He would have an in-house nurse.
Exactly.
But
it's not
making sense. It's not. And for Tom Girardi to get out of his car, Jack and Jill down the hill, be knocked out for 12 hours, to be laying there and then be fine. He is not Captain America.
No.
He is not this 9-year-old in this super like medically processed body. This is
right. You're an old man.
You are an old man.
You're an old man.
And
that's it.
I know.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm listening. I'm going through my notes.
I have a comment, and I hate to do this to you since you did not watch last week's episode. But Lauren, when they were sitting upstairs, it was Erica, Lisa Rinna, and Kyle Richards. Mm-hmm. Erica invites both of them into the room. Mm-hmm. She gives the update that Tom's been conserved. He's going to go into this facility, how Erica's very, very deeply upset about it, how she feels like betrayed by his family, that his family's not stepping up to take him in. Did you hear the moment? Did you hear the moment when she was almost bragging about what Tom has done for her family and like how he paid for her mom to be or grandma to be in a facility? I was like, with other people's money,
right?
Like, why are you still talking about this? Like, why are you still Yes, it was so cringeworthy to me. I was like,
It's like, no, Tom didn't pay for that. That was supposed to go to a skin graft.
yes, or a vaginal mesh bladder sling. Like,
yeah, some vaginal
or-
rejuvenation.
I don't know, orphans and widows.
Or that.
it was just
Like-
so crazy when she said it. And I feel like she made another comment. I was like, if you're trying to elicit sympathy out of your audience, like you are doing a god awful job at it. And there's no self-awareness.
No.
And
But
that
why
pissed
would
me off
she
so
be
much.
Upset? Why? Because in previous episodes, she sat there and she's like, Tom and I don't talk. I told him, I told his lawyers, he has to stop calling me.
Because he makes a comment and says, although we're not speaking, he was still my husband of 22 years. And I still feel, I'm concerned about him going into this elderly facility because of the way that people treat them and how they're
get fucked.
I know. And then how their health declines rapidly and how she's concerned about that.
I used to be the director of nursing for an assisted living community. So I would do the assessments on all the admissions. I would go and see, are you assisted living appropriate? Because there's certain guidelines for assisted living. So anyone can move into assisted, as bad as this sounds, anyone can move into assisted living if you have the money.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, it's a business. Now, if you need more, because assisted living, there's a lot of people there that are independent with all their cares.
My aunt moved into assisted living because her house didn't have air conditioner. So she moved into assisted living and flipped her house.
Well, and it might be maybe your spouse died and you just want to be around people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not hospice. It's not you go in there. Yeah.
It's like a dorm room with a chef.
I mean, some of those assisted livings are pretty damn nice. You got a bar. You got a pool.
Happy hour.
Chlamydia spreading left and right.
Exactly.
Fun doors.
You got some
it's
stripper poles.
College all over again.
Yeah.
But
I don't enjoy.
What kills me is a conservatorship. I mean, it's his brother, but I also think this is a convenient narrative.
I agree.
From a legal perspective, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think, someone had asked if there's any, I don't know if it was you guys or someone else, they had asked if there was any long-term effects from a fall.
Oh, uh-huh.
If you're passed out for 12 hours, God bless. I don't know how you didn't have pneumonia, you didn't have all these other issues. But anytime you go unconscious and there's a concussion, it can have possible lingering long-term effects.
Interesting.
Because that's a traumatic issue that went on with your head. Like, you hit your head hard enough to be concussed and then you went unconscious. So it can be. I just don't think in the 3 years when this was being filmed, from his first accident to when all these allegations happened, like Cash said, these crimes happened way before 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think
this behavior was ongoing? And it sounds like what I'm assuming happened is it started off small and it was something that he did periodically throughout his career. And then it began to snowball because he was, robbing Peter to pay Paul. So it was like this, his debts consistently grew.
Do you think at all that him being married to Erica, he felt pressure to
there's a lot of
because here's this old man, here's this younger woman. She probably knew what she was doing being a stripper.
It's like keeping up with the Joneses. Because in her book, I read her book 100 times. When she moved into that place, allegedly it was empty. There was nothing in it. And
that's the style she picked for.
I know, right? But it's to me, I'm wondering if Tom was like, wow, I have this hot lady who's redoing my house, etc. Whatever you need, babe, go off.
Yeah. Here's all these men that want to be with her. But I think I think we can all agree they had a little arrangement.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys see that? I think Bravo Snark side shared it that Tom was caught out with a female companion recently.
I thought that was old.
Was it old?
I thought it was pre-assisted living. But it might,
But he's not
unless
he's not living in the assisted living.
Yeah,
he's
that's
not?
no, they had no record of him there.
Oh, so, but I thought that video that we saw is him walking out of the assisted living.
That looked like a business center.
Oh, you guys, I thought he was in the assisted living this entire time.
No, I think he wants us to think that. But what
Yeah,
the
because-
Where is he living?
Oh, I'm sure he has another house
Shut up.
that Erica doesn't know about.
I mean,
Allegedly.
think of all the houses he has that she doesn't know about.
I
Or
thought
he's
that he was
in
in
an
a facility.
apartment. Okay, here's you know that when we first saw him after months of not seeing him and he looked all frail and he had the
Yeah,
face mask
The black
on and-
eye.
yeah, and it's like what the hell happened to Tom Girardi? But then we see him when he's moving in and he's in like his Sunday best,
Yeah.
like going to brunch or going to watch his granddaughters like,
Always wearing
recital.
blue. Uh-huh.
You know, that baby Easter blue.
Mhm.
And he's not trying to hide himself. Like, here I am moving
Mhm.
into it. You guys can't see my hand motion.
I
Like
know.
I'm doing. But he's making it very, look at me. Here I
Yeah.
am. He wanted to be seen.
Yeah,
I
like
don't
he's
For
think-
sure hiring them.
to take those photos.
Well, and every person I had that moved into an assisted living, the actual patient moving in, they were in the apartment telling people where to put stuff.
Mm.
You weren't outside standing there watching people move something in. That's
Huh.
He wants us to believe the narrative that he's selling us. But I can't figure out the video that posted yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, how do they know he was there? I mean, someone might have tipped him off.
I need to do more research on this because I'm absolutely shocked.
I just,
Yeah.
I think
It doesn't even
yesterday-
matter if you do research because half of it's a lie anyway.
I know.
Yeah, that
Well,
You
not
know?
not this intense journalism we are doing right now.
Right.
I
Right.
used to be a journalism major.
Well, see, and it's paying off.
You guys, there have
When-
been so many majors that have happened in this Zoom
I
chat.
know.
but-
Oh
Lauren
my
tried to
God.
be a nurse, but she didn't want to get shit
White
on. And
assholes.
then apparently she went into psychiatry. Oh wait, psychology. I used to be a journalism major. Cash, I think you're the only one that stayed
Yeah.
on track.
I was a history, political science major that went to law school.
I mean,
Oh
it's
my
that kind
God.
of one and the same.
That's
Yeah,
so funny.
that's the pathway.
That's
Okay,
so
so
funny.
let's wrap it up. Let's talk about, do you guys have it? So I think we can all agree here that we are not really super believing whatever we're being spoon fed.
Oh no.
Can't
Right.
wait for that reunion though.
Right. But let's share. Do you guys have any criminal behaviors for the week?
My criminal behavior is very literal. It's Brian Laundrie and his family and
Mhm.
the aiding and abetting a criminal. That is my criminal behavior. I have nothing else. It's the only thing that's occupied my mind the entire last 2 weeks.
Wow.
I heard-
Lauren and I have spent hours talking about this on the phone, watching body cam.
My boyfriend won't let me talk about it anymore. He's like, you need to talk about something else because I truly can't.
Yeah, mine's very literal. It's the Brian Laundrie family, and his parents should be ashamed of themselves.
Do you think
I
he's
don't-
alive?
Yes.
I do.
Let's call them the dirty laundries.
Yeah, the dirty, seriously. But I think he's alive because I think he's too big of because at first my theory was that he was going to go out and kill himself.
Mm.
But then I started to realize that he's too big of a coward.
No, he's too big of a narcissist.
Yeah, narcissist. Sorry, thank you. He's
Hmm.
too big of a narcissist to do it. And he thinks that he's smart enough and he can get away with it.
So in a situation like this, will his parents like get in trouble for maybe aiding and abetting?
They
If he in
can.
fact did it, if he in fact did what we all are alleging, yes. If they
Wow.
if all is true, what we hypothesized, yeah.
Yes.
But
if
we
he-
don't know if it's true.
So if he killed Gabby Petito, came home, and his parents were made aware of the allegations, or sorry, not allegations, the fact that he committed a homicide, and they helped him in any way or provided him money, told him where to go, and have not cooperated with law enforcement, they can be charged and prosecuted for aiding and abetting a criminal, tampering with evidence, whatever.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't do shitty things.
Yeah, don't kill people. How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
Okay, Leah, do you have any criminal behavior?
Well, mine is not near as intense as Kaish's.
Mine's not either.
But
We're generally not.
I honestly, if I tell you good morning or like, and you say nothing to me, fuck you, dude. I don't want to be there first thing in the morning. You know, I'm not that chipper, but if I say, oh, hi, good morning, and you act like I'm not around, it's like, okay, I guess I'm talking to a wall.
Fuck you. Yeah.
And Lauren, I know that you're about to move to the Midwest, and your boyfriend and myself warned you that we always go, like we're about to like walk into you.
Uh-huh.
It bugs me so bad when I almost bump into someone at Target or Walmart or wherever, and I go, oh, excuse me, and they don't even acknowledge me.
Oh.
Don't make me feel like I'm invisible. Acknowledge me.
Acknowledge me. Unacknowledgement is criminal.
It's criminal.
It's like people that don't hold the door open for you or like walk through the
Yes.
door and they just let it slam in front of you. It's like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? It's like a Scala and literally everybody walking through the
In
door.
every door.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this. So if I get on an elevator, it's like, I don't want people in. I don't want to make the small talk. So
Door
I'll-
closed, door closed, door closed.
That's an
I
exception.
just don't like that awkward. All right. And
I
I'll
know,
be
like,
honest,
man.
I use the elevator to fart. Like, I don't want people in
Oh,
there.
you're
with
one of those.
me. Only if it's empty.
I'm about to change my criminal behavior.
Only if it's empty.
Oh my God.
You know what? Great idea, actually.
Dying. Okay, Lauren, what's your criminal behavior?
Mine is mosquitoes, all parts.
Hate them.
Go to
You're
jail.
moving to Minnesota.
Don't tell me anything about
They're
mosquitoes.
like the
if
size
they're
of
bad.
cars.
Shut the fuck up.
Like,
Swear to God.
Are you
Minnesota is
serious?
Minnesota is
huge.
the land of lakes. Mosquitoes like you're gonna
Yeah, you're
I'm
going to be by
scared.
stagnant water.
What do I do, you guys? It's too
I
late.
mean, honestly,
some
where you're
deep.
moving in Minnesota, the lakes are usually further north, and you only have about 3 good months of weather
Exactly.
there.
I'll be inside the whole time. Don't worry about me.
Did she tell you that she's so excited to step on a leaf that's actually changing colors and to hear the crunch of it?
I want to hear it crunch. Our leaves are fucking slippery out here.
Yeah, Lauren doesn't know. I've experienced fall because I lived in Northern California and we had leaves that changed and lived up in the mountains for a little bit. So it's crazy to me that that's going to be really a first for her.
Like, she's so excited.
It's gonna
But-
be fun. But
You don't
mosquitoes
underst-
are my criminal.
You don't understand though. I mean, living in Southern California, growing up there our entire lives, you don't experience like your Christmases and Thanksgivings, it's 85 degrees.
Like
Oh,
I
see,
remember
that
they
sounds
said
awful to me.
I remember there was a local jewelry store that said if it rained on Mother's Day, everyone got a diamond if you went in. And it fucking never fucking rained on Mother's Day and no one ever fucking got diamonds ever. It was like,
Wow.
yeah, and it's May, and isn't the thing like April showers? Well, I
Bring
guess then it was
Mayflowers.
it was
May
the
and
same
May and
bet.
April are
They're
different months.
different. They're different. They're different.
Okay.
I'm so excited for your Minnesota journey.
Ugh, we'll vlog it. Good luck. Good luck, me.
Seriously, you have to. That's so funny. Okay, well, I think that wraps it up, you guys. I had
Yeah.
so much fun. This was our
I did
first
too.
special guest that's ever been on the pod, and we're so glad it was our fave, Classic Skytops. Follow her on Instagram. Let us know if you want her back to do a deeper dive once we get some more information. I mean, we can
I
always
want
do it.
I want her on for the Brooks cancer scandal.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That would be
Yes.
incredible.
If you don't mind. Yeah.
Oh,
You know what?
I would do anything for you.
Oh,
I would wear your sweatshirt out when I was walking the dog this morning, not realizing, and I sent I sent Lauren a photo of what my hair looked like.
But the sweatshirt, fabulous.
Are they
Oh,
not the
it's
best
so soft.
sweatshirts?
They are amazing. And I wish you guys could see the shirt I have on now, because it's like, oh, since we're doing this on Zoom, you know, my little nurse shirt that says, I'm a good nurse, I just cuss a lot.
I
Oh,
love
that's so
it.
sweet.
I
It's,
love it.
but well, no, girls, this was so fun. Thank you so much for asking me.
You're
Absolutely.
welcome. We had so much fun. So everybody go follow Leah Classic Skytops, CLASSIC, Skytops, SKYTOPS. Follow us at Allegedly Bravo, our website, www.allegedlybravo.com. And buy our
Buy a
merch, 'cause
sweatshirt.
it's like
Buy
Leah
a
said,
sweatshirt.
they're cozy AF. That's bonfire.com/store/allegedly bravo dash store slashy dashy.
And you know what?
What?
That sweatshirt's going to be great for fall, and it's going to be even better for the skeeters.
Oh, I'm going to be
I mean,
full sweatshirt for Skeeter
I
vibes.
would love it if you guys would make compression socks so I can wear them at work.
Oh my
Oh, for sure. I'll get right on it for real.
God. Okay, bye, you
everybody.
guys.
Follow us on
Bye.
Patreon, patreon.com/allegedly bravo. Okay, bye.